I was driving with my friend Mike on a remote road in Tennessee. We were bored and looking for some adventure. We had heard rumors of a yellow brick road that led to a haunted house in the woods. We thought it was just a legend, but we wanted to see for ourselves. We drove for a long time until we saw a sign that said, Yellow Brick Road. We turned left and followed a dirt road that soon became paved with yellow bricks. We were amazed and curious. We wondered who had built this road and why. The road twisted and turned through the dark forest. We saw no signs of life, except for some animals that darted across the road. We felt a sense of unease, but we kept going. We wanted to reach the end of the road and see the house. After about half an hour, we saw a large gate that blocked the road. It was made of iron and had a sign that said no trespassing. We got out of the car and tried to open the gate, but it was locked. We looked around and saw a small path that went around the gate and into the woods. We decided to follow it. We walked for a few minutes until we reached a clearing. There we saw a huge mansion that looked like it was from a fairy tale. It had a pointed roof, a tower, and many windows. It was painted in bright colors and decorated with flowers. It looked beautiful and inviting. We approached the house and knocked on the door. There was no answer. We tried the handle and found it unlocked. We opened the door and entered the house. We were greeted by a pleasant smell of cookies and a cheerful music. We felt a sudden change of mood. We forgot our fears and felt happy and curious. We explored the house and found many rooms that were filled with toys, books, games, and candy. We felt like we had entered a wonderland. We played with the toys, read the books, ate the candy, and had fun. We lost track of time and forgot about everything else. We didn't notice that the music had stopped and the smell of cookies had turned into a smell of rot. We didn't notice that the toys had become broken and dirty. The books had become torn and stained. The games had become rigged and dangerous, and the candy had become bitter and poisonous. We didn't notice that the house had become dark and gloomy, and that the windows had become barred and locked. We didn't notice that we were not alone in the house. We didn't notice that there were eyes watching us from the shadows. We didn't notice that there were voices whispering in our ears. We didn't notice that there were hands reaching for us from behind. We didn't notice until it was too late. We screamed and ran for the door, but it was locked. We tried to break it, but it was too strong. We looked for another way out, but there was none. We were trapped in the house. We heard a loud laugh that echoed through the house. It was a cruel and mocking laugh. It was the laugh of the owner of the house. He came out of the shadows and revealed himself. He was a tall and thin man, dressed in a black suit and a top hat. He had a pale face and a long nose. He had a wicked smile and sharp teeth. He had a cane and a monocle. He looked like a villain from a cartoon. He introduced himself as Mr. Oz. He said he was the master of the house and the yellow brick road. He said he had built them to lure people like us into his trap. He said he liked to play with his guests and make them suffer. He said he was bored and lonely and that he needed some entertainment. He said he had a game for us. He said he would let us go if we could answer his riddles. He said he would kill us if we failed. He said he was a fair and generous host and that he would give us a chance. He asked us his first riddle. It was a simple one. He asked us what was black and white and red all over. We knew the answer. We said it was a newspaper. He said we were wrong. He said it was him. He took out a knife and stabbed Mike in the chest. He said he was black and white and red all over. He laughed and said we had failed. He asked me a second riddle. It was a harder one. He asked me what was the difference between a duck and a goose. I didn't know the answer. I guessed it was the size. He said I was wrong. He said it was the taste. He took out a fork and a knife and cut off Mike's leg. He said he liked to eat duck, but not goose. He said I had failed. He asked me his third riddle. It was an impossible one. He asked me what was the meaning of life. I had no idea. I said I didn't know. He said I was right. He said there was no meaning to life. He said life was a joke and death was the punchline. He said I had passed. He said he was impressed by my answer and that he would keep his word and let me go. He said he would unlock the door and let me leave, that he would even give me a gift. He said he would give me Mike's head, that it was a souvenir, a reminder. He said it was a warning. He said he hoped I enjoyed my visit. He said he hoped I would come back soon. He said he had more games and more riddles. He said he had more fun and more surprises for me. He said he had more friends and more guests for me. He said he had more yellow bricks for me. He said goodbye and closed the door behind me. I ran out of the house and back to the car. I drove away as fast as I could. I never looked back. I never stopped, and I never returned. I still have nightmares about that night. I still see his face and hear his laugh. I still smell his cookies and hear his music. I still feel his hands and his knife. I still see Mike's head and his blood. To this day, I wonder if he was telling the truth, if he was really Mr. Oz. I still wonder if he was really the master of the yellow brick road, if he was really the wizard of the woods.